Tina.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to our monthly near death experience support group meeting. We welcome family members, seekers, and students of the NDE. My name is Tina Angeli. I am a near death experience and I'm also one of the facilitator of this group. I also interview all speakers and ensure that they are suitable to speak for our group. I wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Bethany Silver for all the hours she works to send out notices, create those notices, and oversee all technical issues and systems, which makes it possible for our group to be streamed live on the internet worldwide and records meetings, maintaining the group's website and our YouTube channel. Without Bethany, our online support group would not be possible. Anyone that wishes to become a working facilitator of the group and donate significant time to assist in technical or other administrative tasks for our group should contact us. Upcoming speakers, Andrea from Canada is our August 14th speaker. September is Glenn Stouffer, and October is Dr. Zeke. We are open for speakers in November and December. Okay, thank you, Mindy Speranza, for accepting our invitation to speak this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's see. What else do I need to say before I ask you to start? To allow individuals enough time to ask the speaker questions, there'll be a one question limit per attendee until everyone with questions has had an opportunity to be heard. The meeting will conclude promptly at 8:30. Anyone wishing to continue to share with other attendees may remain. We ask that all attendees mute your audio, and when Mindy concludes her sharing, she will be open to answer questions. Thank you. Mindy, please begin.
Okay. Well, what I decided to do was read a chapter from my book that talks about my NDE. So you'll know what's going on and then we can take questions. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay. There's a little bit of a preview I'm going to read, so just to help you understand. I was a single mom working 12 hours a day to keep a roof over my head. My ex had moved on and remarried. I started a hair salon with an old friend who turned out to be no friend at all. To call her ruthless is an understatement. And I'm not going to read this whole preview, but I didn't want to live anymore.
Okay.
And I walked into my bedroom after a series of things that happened in my life all at once. And I looked up at the ceiling and I said, I don't know who you are, God, or how you operate, or what matters to you. My ex gets to prosper with no second thoughts for his kids, with no financial assistance for my children. My ex-business partner gets to benefit from things I created. I don't know what's important to you or what matters, but I don't want a God like that in my life. And I meant it, and he knew it. I was determined that I would live as a shell of myself, empty and vacant, just going through the motions. I would stay alive just to raise my children, but I wouldn't feel anything, no hopes, no dreams. I was done. I went to sleep that night drained and defeated. The next morning, I woke up to go to one of my 3 jobs, the one that hadn't paid me in 8 weeks. I had decided that I would consider it a volunteer job since I wasn't getting paid. I had become attached to the patients in the nursing home and I wanted to be there for them. I clicked on the television and went to make breakfast. Immediately, I heard in a loud and clear voice, we are body, soul, and spirit. And most people have no power in their life because they don't go deep enough to touch spirit where all the power is. I wondered if that was my problem. I wondered if the TV was talking to me. I had just resolved the night before to stop trying. And now what? Now was God talking to me through the television? I had an overwhelming feeling that those words were for me. It permeated my soul the whole day and drove me crazy. All I wanted to do was what he had said, go deeper and touch spirit, so I could have the power that he was talking about. I had no idea what that meant or what it would come to mean in my life. I went through the motions of work for the day, wanting to stop at different times and try to go deeper, but I couldn't because I was surrounded by people. I got home, finished my chores, got ready for bed. It was around 10 o'clock at night. I remembered I waited all day to do this. Now I was finally alone. The anticipation was almost too much. I went into a place in my mind where one would go to pray. I tried to pray deep. The next thing I knew, I was out of my body and rising up. Now, I'm going to explain what happened after that, but I just want to say why I choose to call it a near death and not an out of body. And that's because when I came back, I didn't know what to call it, or even if I had to call it, or what a label was, and that there were different ones. I had no idea. But as I learned, I realized I felt. I went to where you go when you die, and I was taught by spirit, and I came back a different person. And none of the other labels, so to speak, fit. I really don't care what anyone calls it, but that's how I feel comfortable, because to me it was a death, a true death, and I'm not that person anymore. So feel free to label it whatever you want, but to me it's a near death. As I was trying to pray deeper, instantly I was out of my body. I felt myself rising higher and higher to another dimension. I remember thinking, oh, it's up. This is where everything is, up. Heaven, God, dead people. This is where they all are, in the sky. And as I thought that, I crossed into another dimension, and I was instantly in outer space. I was somewhere above the universe in the deep navy blue sky, with millions of stars pulsating with light and energy. It was the most peaceful feeling I had ever felt. My first thought was, oh my God, this is where I'm from. This is my home. I instantly knew that I was made up of the same particles as the stars and the planets and the air. I knew this was where I originated from and that I was back home. I heard everything telepathically. No words were heard as sound. They were just put directly in my mind. And I heard, he knows every hair on your head, Mindy. And every moment matters. And where it matters is in your soul. That's what counts. I heard everything telepathically. When he said every moment matters, immediately, all the pain of a lifetime drained from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. I was being emptied of all the pain and suffering of a lifetime. And right behind it, I was being filled with what I can only describe as liquid love. Words that I had never put together before or even thought of in any way. But I knew then that that was the only way to describe the feeling. That liquid love completely healed me from head to toe, and all fear was instantly gone, along with the confusion and pain of a lifetime. I now knew I was loved by God. He was the one I had questioned and blamed for my whole life. His love was all that mattered, and I felt it. It was now a part of me. I felt it in me, and I continue to. I was then shown images of the sun, the stars, and the moon. The moon started coming closer and closer, bigger and bigger. I saw the moon's surface, and then I heard, God is the sun, the stars, and the moon, Mindy. Is the moon mad at you? I then understood that God was omnipotent, all powerful, omnipresent everywhere. He had much bigger things to do than be mad at me. Then I was shown three Mindys: a flesh Mindy, an outline of a Mindy, like a gingerbread cookie, and a wind of Mindy. I heard, the wind is your spirit. It is one with all. Just like the air from Brooklyn to Staten Island doesn't change, spirit from one to another person doesn't change. For the first time in my life, I knew what was meant by we are all one. In the spirit, we are all one, but not in the flesh. I was then directed to the outline of Mindy. It was filled with some type of liquid up to my ankles. And I heard, this is your soul. It is empty to your ankles, because even though your actions were good, you were filled with fear and resentment. And God does not attach to fear, resentment, or any negativity. Negativity will fill your soul. No, will not fill your soul, but it will drain your soul. Then they told me there is another place. I saw three small cardboard boxes, corrugated on the inside. I saw them fall to the wayside. I understood that there is a lower place, another dimension. The thought came to me, what if I go back and do it again? How will I know what to do? Now that I realize I am part of what's happening in my life, I wanted to make sure I didn't recreate it. I want to just stop for a minute and explain. I grew up in an institution for child abuse, and I got married. My ex-husband was abusive, and nothing worked. If I touched it, immediately it went bad. And I felt that I was doing the best I could, and God must hate me. I couldn't find any reason that my life was so difficult based on me or my actions. I didn't think about my thoughts, which many times I said my only emotion is fear. And so that's what they were explaining to me, that it was my thoughts that were bringing in all these things. So I said, what if I go back and do it again now that they explained it? And they said, you will know by the word. I had no use of my ears. All information was being put directly into my mind. I was directed to a silver beam of light higher up in the sky to my left. It was perfectly radiant, a light with sparks and life. It had a pulse. It was floating and alive. The beam appeared to have energy. Words started to appear on either side of the beam, hundreds of words. Words on the right were good. Words on the left were bad. I heard, you will know by the word. Good words have good energy. Bad words have bad energy. There is no gray area. Your life will go in the direction of your thoughts, and it can't be based on your circumstances. That is the meaning of free will on earth. And that is the only meaning of free will on earth. And it is your responsibility to fill your soul. I then saw my ex-husband and ex-business partner in the same context of body, soul, and spirit. And I was told, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And what they do is to their soul. I remember looking around, experiencing this overwhelming presence and power of the universe. It went on forever. And I was told there is no time and no space. In fact, I knew that it was ever increasing. It goes on forever. I also know that wherever I was very dense with souls, very crowded. There was so much going on, more than I saw or experienced. And I was told, you are in the others. I still get chills when I relive those words. I had never heard that word others before. When I came back from the other side, I looked it up. And Wikipedia defined it according to ancient medieval science. Ether, also spelled either, also called quintessence, is the material that fills the region of the universe above the terrestrial sphere. So I looked it up in the dictionary. It is the upper regions of space, the clear sky, the heavens. I have come to understand that the others are the in-between, the space in between heaven and earth. I was in the in-between. For a split second, I saw an image of a peaceful man in a blue turban, and my impression was that there are many religions, and one was no better than the other. I saw two profiles of faces, eye to eye, face to face, floating, looking into each other's eyes, and at the same time, I was told, go back and tell others. They wanted me to tell people what happened and what I had learned. I thought that was odd. It seemed like an impossible task. Who would believe it? I was to follow these instructions and try to put them to use in my everyday life. I was then shown an elderly man, white man, pale, thin, and frail. He was wearing boxer shorts, floating in a hospital bed in outer space. He had white facial stubble. I was told that when someone suffers at the end of their life, there is a reason and a purpose, a sort of burning away of karma, although that word was never used. There would be a benefit on the other side. I woke up in the morning the next day. I was back. I don't know how long I was there, and that drove me crazy for a long time until I finally gave up trying to figure it out. Was I there 10 minutes or 10 hours? It didn't matter. I woke up knowing that I was forever changed. I was not the same person I was when I had gone to bed. I was elated, floating. Everything was different. At first, I felt like I was a newborn baby in a strange world. I was joyful for the first time in my life, and now I knew the rules. And then it really began because the after effects were much more than that. And that's my story. That's my crux of it. Do you want me to keep reading or do you want to ask questions?
Yeah, that was what I wanted to know. Do people have questions at this point?
I can read a little further for the after effects.
Well, let's see. Oh, okay. So Jane, yeah, good. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much, Mindy. I did write down a couple of things you said. I'm just commenting. Um, Two things you said that really struck me because they're so true. And the first one was that negativity drains your soul. I mean, what a lesson, what an image of how they showed that to you. That's amazing. And oh my gosh, yeah, that really hit home. And the other one was your life will go in the direction of your thoughts. And my therapist is someone who kind of reminds me of this fairly often because it is so true. That is absolutely true. And man, you got some great wisdom there. That's fantastic.
Thank you. I probably heard something like that throughout my life, but
Yeah.
couldn't absorb it or live it. But
Yeah.
when you go on the other side and they tell you, well, then you get it. And it's
Yeah.
still hard. It's the most important thing they told me. And I try every day, and it's a fight every day. But I'm not that person anymore. I don't get depressed, and I don't feel like a victim unless it's of my own thoughts. And then I'll try to examine that. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, the understanding is priceless,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. Well,
So
thank you so much.
Jim
Thank you.
had a question. Jim, do you still want to ask the question before going to Glenn?
Yeah, we started right in on the NDE. I'm only curious, what happened to you to deliver you to the door of that experience? Was it a sickness? Was it meditation? Was it an accident? What happened?
It was extreme depression,
Okay.
not wanting to live anymore. It
So
yeah.
So was it like in the deepest depression that, any of us could hope to even imagine? Did you just have this epiphany? This something just stepped in and
No epiphanies. I decided that I'm never gonna think of God again. I'm never gonna refer to him, and he's all I had.
right,
I'd grown up in an institution, and I didn't have parents or anything, and I was sure he wanted to hurt me at that point because I just couldn't make sense of life. And I was giving up the only thing I had left. And I thought it was a great idea, truthfully, because if I had no wants or needs and I stopped praying and asking God, then I wouldn't have disappointment anymore.
right.
And I thought it was genius, but he didn't, obviously. So the night I did that, I meant it. I said, I don't want a God like this in my life.
Mhm.
And I was shutting down completely. Emotionally, mentally, I had enough. I was 52 years old and my life got harder every day, it seemed. And I guess God didn't want me to do that. And he stepped in, and I actually was taken out of my body. I don't
Right.
know. It wasn't my doing. I had no idea it was going to happen. I just wanted to shut down the pain.
Sure.
That's all.
Thank you. I mean, I remember now, you let it
Yeah.
together. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Glenn is then Jane. Jane, did you have your hand up again? Okay. All right. So Glenn.
Hi, yeah, Mindy, thanks for sharing. It sounds like you have more to say, so I'll just ask
Hi,
that.
Glenn.
Hi, a quick question. You mentioned your responsibility is to fill your soul, and I'm wondering if are you planning on elaborating on that a little bit, or can I ask a couple of questions about
Sure.
that? I mean, that's like a big Christmas gift or focus.
Very big. I'm planning on answering anything anyone wants to know. And that is very important. When I looked at the three Mindys, the middle one was just an outline. I say like a gingerbread, it was spirit body, so soft edges. And it was filled with something to my ankles. And all I had to do was think, and then it was answered right in my head. And I thought, what is that? And that's when they said, that is your soul. You are empty to your ankles. Because even though your actions were good, you were filled with fear and resentment. And God will not attach to fear, resentment, or any negativity. And that negativity, I learned, is caused by my thoughts. Now, many times I used to say fear is my only emotion, and I meant it. And it was a lifetime of that. Every time I thought I could go towards a different emotion, something would smack me and push me back into fear. I just never could, I was always drowning. And they said, negativity will drain your emotion. And I said, what if I do it again? And they had told me, you'll know by the word. So the thoughts and the words, because my deeds were good, it didn't matter.
Well,
I could have helped everybody and anybody.
Right.
But if I did it in fear and terror and negativity, it didn't help me. See?
Okay.
So I think I'm up to my thighs now, 10 years later, which is a lot. It took me a lot of work to fill that much. It's not easy.
No, that sounds amazing. I mean, is that just kind of an intuitive feeling you have, or do you have things that go back and forth now, like giving you feedback? how you're doing or anything.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm up to the thigh that good. That's all. But for a long time, I said calf, and for years I said knee. So this is probably the first time I'm saying thigh, because you don't get a free pass or a magic wand, which I would have preferred. I still get life with a little bit of info, a little instructions, very little. And I try to practice that, but that's all.
So if I understand it right, the main mechanism here is the interiorization, as we might say in yoga, or trying to fill yourself with love and positivity and reaching for relationship to God and others and all that sort of things. That sound about right? No.
More 100% taking responsibility for good, bad, or otherwise, based on my thoughts and actions, and just knowing I'm the creator. There is God and there is guides, but I am the creator, and constantly bringing it back to me and good thoughts. It's that combination. But I think not waiting to be saved by God or otherwise,
right,
and then getting sad and resentful is the biggest change. So I still can't create everything I want, but I know it's up to me. And I still forget sometimes, and I fumble, but I do know that. And that has been the biggest help. And I know God loves me, but he's not jumping in all the time. This is school, so I have to pass the class.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate your story. It's amazing. Thank you.
I'm so happy.
Okay, so it says here Jane and Greg. So Jane, did you change your mind about another question, or is your name just hanging in there?
It's hanging in there. I have no idea why.
All right. Okay,
let me try something. Okay, there.
All right. So Greg, are you there? Greg?
Hey, how you doing? Mindy, I know you from the NDE group on Facebook.
Hi, Greg.
So, yeah, and I believe you personal messaged me your story once, which I want to tell you was really helpful,
Oh, I don't remember
so
that. Was that years ago or?
A couple years ago. I think I had a question and you personal messaged me or something. It was that whole your life goes by your thoughts regardless of circumstance.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like I had a question, but like as you mentioned school, I do have it just made me think of this. I have a reoccurring dream recently where I'm in school again and I didn't study and I'm like, oh crap, the final's coming up, but I feel like it's going to be okay. I don't know. It's just like a recent thing, and I work at a school. So I guess that's just a side note. School could be life. I don't know. One common thing I have heard from NDE people is that people who pray for things have it wrong, like you're mentioning. Saying, "Oh God, I need guidance." Well, maybe guidance is the thing. It's more about like thanking the universe, and that's how you get it in your thoughts to kind of manifest. I guess I don't know. Is there a difference between prayer and just what we continue to think as manifestation? What people know as the law of attraction, which like you're talking about. My understanding from what I've read and heard is they're one and the same.
I've tried them all separately and together. I think part of it is we have individual lessons, like you say about school. I don't think there's a one size fits all. I think there is so much more going on in each of our lives and in general than we know. And so I don't know if this is the right word, but I'm hearing idiosyncrasies. I don't even know what that means. Is that the right word? There's so many little details that a blanket statement, law of attraction, doesn't work that great for me. I'll tell you that. There's more to it. And I think as we go through each lesson, the awareness of it and searching our soul, for me, helps more than any other method. Saying, where can I learn from this experience and how can I do better? And it doesn't always come to me, but sometimes it does, and it comes strong. And then I get a leap. Then I get to move in a direction, maybe in a little less time, but I've tried everything. And everything matters. It's all a combination, but the trick is the combination is different for each one of us. So we got to find our method. I believe meditation is important because if we can sit still long enough, maybe some insight can land in my soul for a minute. I can get a glimpse of my direction or what I need to know, but not always. And I still get downloads, I call them, where I'll get, and I'm like, wow, but why didn't that come 2 years ago when I was trying to fix, I don't know. So there's really so much more dimensionally and detail. Like when I was on the other side, I had a feeling come to me that astrology was real, numerology was real, all of this was real. But you can spend many lifetimes and not get a little drop of what it all means. So yes, it's real. And law of attraction does work. But the main thing is self-examination and open to letting something, for me, letting something settle. But I don't know when it's going to settle and what's going to come. And sometimes I forget that will even happen until it happens. So I think it's a very personal experience. Life is, and death is, for all of us. There's just so much more to it. You understand what I'm saying? So do it all. Try it all.
Got it. Gotcha.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, is it Matthew or Sharon that has our hand up?
No, it's both of us.
All right. Go ahead.
I'll let Matthew go first.
I have a question. Let me just get rid of this. When you were communicating, I was curious as to how you were communicating and how you were receiving communicate back to you.
Through my mind, telepathically. I want to say thought, but it wasn't. It was much deeper than thought. It wasn't like our thoughts now. Even that was different. It was clearer. It was more direct. I understood the meaning under the meaning. If they wanted to tell me something, there was nothing else in my mind, just the information. And it seemed important, everything they downloaded. Or I didn't feel like it was a download on the other side. It was just put directly in my brain. But when I came back, I kind of felt like it was being downloaded into me from the other side. Like it didn't feel the same. The other side, there was nothing but what they were teaching me. And don't forget, I didn't have a body. So I didn't have a brain or ears, and it kind of comes in different, sort of straight in, and only what they're saying. No, although I could have my own thoughts after or before what they did, but there wasn't chatter or any extra. It was much clearer and crisper than here.
I would love to experience that. Okay, but Sharon has the question.
You will. We all will.
Sharon, go ahead.
I pray. I just wanted to ask you a question about fear. And I know that you were told fear not. Is fear also something that you bring to yourself, or did you become fearful because of events, interactions with some things that were happening in your lifetime at that point in time?
It wasn't at that point. From a child, I was traumatized. I didn't realize it. I've never said those words before, actually. And I probably had post-traumatic, but like from every day from birth. And fear is not of God. So when they told me that, that's all I had to hear. because I knew it was of something else. And it kind of attached to me. I didn't know that I was doing it or should or couldn't, or I didn't know that I had any control. It just, I kind of developed into pure fear as a way of life. And I was on survival mode just every day. So by 52, you know, I had enough.
Yeah. It wears on
But
you.
I don't have it anymore, by the way. But it's my responsibility not to have it also. See?
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Bethany?
Yeah, thank you. I really love the questions that people are asking, and Mindy, your information is just so helpful. I wondered, I work with a team and we research ways to support people who've had near-death experiences to integrate after the near-death experience. And so I'm wondering if you've had any specific challenges after your experience, like when you think about before my experience, after my experience, are there challenges that you've had and specific ways that you've seemed to help yourself, things that you've done or things that you've stopped doing that have helped you?
Yes, that's a great question. And that's one of the reasons I do this. I had tremendous challenges because I didn't know what happened to me. And I didn't think it ever happened to anyone else. And I really felt crazy. And as much as it was euphoric, I wanted to be normal again. I didn't even want, now I would love to be in that state with the wisdom. But at the time, I started over like a child, my way of thinking. And I found an NDE group I had just started on Facebook. And I always say that saved my life because now I saw it happen to other people. I knew I had changed and that was a tremendous benefit, but I cried every day for about a year because they were still working on me and the crying was a healing. And there was just a lot going on. I heard voices and noises. And so I didn't just come back and go on with life with my new information. I came back totally confused. And I would say within the first year, I had like uncomfortable feel. I just wanted to be normal again. There was a time when I wanted it all to go away. And I think being among other near-death people is the most important thing. That is what saved me. And doing the work, the inner work of changing gives it purpose because you don't want to go and come back with no purpose. You know, what do I have to go through that for? But I think having each other, and I don't interact, I do on Facebook, but not really, you know, as much as I did with other NDEs. But it doesn't matter because it's every minute of my life, I'm aware. I never lose it, you know. But I think we do need each other to say you're not crazy and this is what it is and how it is. And that's what helped me the most, others.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bethany and Mindy. Okay, Cosmo Universe. I love that name. It's your turn. Go ahead. Your sound is off.
You're muted.
Here we go. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mindy, for sharing your experience. I thought that was very interesting. And I'm wondering if I'm posing this to other people as well in the group. This is my first time joining. And I'm wondering, does other people have other stories that don't necessarily, like my NDE is totally different in respect that yours, you had a meeting with other beings and stuff. And I find mine to be totally different, I guess. And I'm trying to understand. That's why I heard about this group through a friend of mine. And what I'm trying to say is my NDE experience has nothing to do with any type of entity or beings, other than when it happened to me. I realized that I was outside my body and there wasn't any other entities or beings present. And I was totally amazed the fact that what was going on in that moment was happening to me. So I'm wondering, do other people have an experience that is not any other entity related, but you are realizing that you're having an experience of out of body consciousness, or whatever you want to call it?
Many others, number one. Number two, I love that question because I love to say every NDE is as different as every life. And so if I didn't understand life and asked you, what does it mean to be alive? You're going to give me a totally different answer than anyone else. The same with a near death. Also, some people had multiple near death and each one of them was different.
Yeah.
So each trip into life is different. I don't know if as we stay there, it changes. You know, when you're born, you're in a hospital and you only know that. So maybe when we die, we do travel and see different things, but it's always different for everyone, just like life.
Yeah, I had two things happen to me almost within a very short period of time. And this is probably when I was about 19. And that was one, the experience of a UFO, very, very close to me. And then this NDE that happened to me where I was involved in the martial arts. And my instructor said, I want you to experience what it's like to be unconscious. And that's when my NDE happened to me, where I was completely outside my body. I could see myself on the ground. I was about 10 feet above me, and I can hear and see everything around me. But obviously my body was just laying there. And that happened for about what seemed like 10 or 15 seconds. And then bam, right back into my body again. So that experience of being separated from my body and feeling that I must have some other consciousness or a soul was totally unique to me. And I think, quite honestly, changed my whole perception and made me more intuitive of many things around me, like a lot of things that most people don't either take for granted, or you know what's going to happen, you feel it's going to happen, and then it happens. I don't know if it's a gift or I don't know if it's a gift or it's something else. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to explain it other than that, you know?
You know, it's interesting because I had experience with UFOs too. And I don't know if it's at all related. Why does somebody have UFOs and NDEs? Doesn't have to be. Some have it, some don't. Again, it's individual. But the best thing is this happened to you at 19 and you're forever changed.
Yeah.
So why are you able to see and hear things? Because it makes us more aware and it opens us up to it. I think everybody has it, but we're closed. And it's not as easy for everyone, you know. I believe everyone, it's part of us, but everyone can sing, and I'm not Mariah Carey. You know, so there is different levels of what we can, you know. And the best amazing thing is that it changed you. You can never again think that this is all there is because you were already in another dimension. So your experience did, I guess, what it was meant to do. It opened you up. We're not going to get to pick. We don't get to pick the life either, I guess. So, why should we get to pick that? But just enough, what you had is enough that it was life changing. And that's the best part to me. You will see more eventually. We're
Yeah,
going back,
no, it's funny, but as you had mentioned, you've had some experiences in life, obviously, maybe being divorced or whatever. And in those quiet times, you get your answers. So you sometimes wonder, why did this happen? And then I'm sure this has happened to other people that are on the line. You get your answer and you have no control over it, but the answer does come to you somehow, either through thought or in your quiet time. So thanks for
the
sharing.
downloads. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. I'm going to go to Laurie first before I go to Jane. Jane, you're on again. Okay. Laurie. Hi.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Mindy, for sharing your experience. Sometimes
My
the
pleasure.
universe or God or spirit gives us what we need when we need it.
Mhm.
You spoke about depression and fear. Yesterday, I was extremely depressed. My NDE was from toxic mold exposure in my home, and I have a deep fear of being re-exposed to mold enough to kill me again. I've not let it control me because I do work in a moldy place. And I only work part-time and I wear a mask, and that helps me not breathe in so much of the mold. But I was never afraid of anything all my life until the mold. And now it's a big fear.
Yeah.
When I'm re-exposed, I do feel sick. And people can tell. But the other thing is, the depression was from a vehicle. I put all the money I had into a vehicle, and the water pump broke, and it was inside the engine. I lost all my money, and I had to lease a vehicle last week. People are asking me if I'm excited about leasing a brand new car. My answer is, it's a car. It gets me where I need to go.
That's how I feel.
So things here, material things, don't mean a lot to me so much anymore. But my thoughts, ever since my NDE and listening to other NDE experiences like you, I just went to the black void, but I do have receive messages, usually come with goosebumps or ringing of the ears, and I get an understanding of what is being said to me, but it's usually just validating truth in a conversation. Jesus is real, God is real, and I'll get goosebumps. Yes, we're real. But my thoughts, I was on vacation with my sisters, and the car problem kind of put a damper on my mood because I hadn't solved it at that time. But there were many instances in interacting with my sisters when I could have said a negative thing, but I didn't. I stopped it and I turned it around to be a positive thing. And I never did that before in my life. I never controlled my thoughts and what I said. And I think that that is hopefully helping to fill my soul by keeping the thoughts positive. But sometimes in this life, we can't control the depression, the sad feelings. My life isn't the way I would like it to be because of mold. Where I live is not moldy. It's not the best situation. It's not the worst situation. Sometimes I feel like I just exist. But then the little things happen, like there's a little bird that had a mother bird that had a baby bird, And the baby bird, when it first left the nest, landed on my porch, and I put it near the water dish where I feed water to the birds. And then I put a little food there, which I don't usually do because I don't want to attract other animals, just so that the mother and the father would come back. And sure enough, she did, and the baby flew away. But yesterday, as I was sitting outside, kind of very depressed, the mother bird sat and landed on the little fence, and she looked at me, and she kept opening her mouth. She was thirsty, and I hadn't given her clean water. And so I immediately went in and got some water and put the clean water in the bowl, and she drank it. That brought me out of the depression I was in. Just a little thing, a little bird saying, I'm thirsty for some clean water.
Mhm.
And me controlling my thoughts with others around me. So yesterday, when I was in a depressed mood, somebody asked me how I was, and I said, I'm alive. And then I didn't talk to anyone else the rest of the day because I knew that if I did say things, it wouldn't be positive. And I didn't want to bring any negative to anyone. So daily, it's a struggle. And I'm just curious. You said you had a lot going on, 3 jobs, children to raise. Were you able to, after your NDE, change the things that were causing you to feel that deep depression that drove you to your NDE?
Not my circumstances necessarily, but my thoughts. When they told me it's from the word, from my thoughts, I realized I couldn't put 2 good words together. And I didn't know there was any good around me. And they told me there's good and bad and no gray area. So I had to start like an infant and say, if it's not bad, it's good. So the dresser drawers must be good because it's not bad. And the color purple must be good because it's not bad. And the flower must be good, it's not bad. And because I did that, I realized I was surrounded by good. And I would say to you, the only thing that will ever work, that ever works for me, is self-examination and responsibility for my thoughts and my road. If I have a hard road, it's mine. I got to take it. Any other questions? She left.
Well, hold on. Jane is next, and then there is on chat, there is a question from someone else. Go ahead, Jane.
I just have a quick comment about the UFO and NDE you're saying. There's a man named Dr. Stephen Greer, Greer.
I know who he is.
Yes, he had an NDE and he studies the UFO phenomenon. He has wonderful videos on YouTube that you can find and watch where he connects spirituality with the UFOs.
Okay.
So I'm just passing that on. And
I didn't like them, truthfully. They scared me and I didn't have a good experience. But
he explained,
people did.
yeah, he goes into why some people have the bad experience and some good. And there's something really crazy going on. But you have to watch his videos to find out, because
I have seen
it's wild.
some and I will watch it again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the 2 most recent ones where he talks about the most and what's really going on. But he's the guy. I mean, he's amazing.
Yes.
So anyway, I have to go, but I want to thank you, Mindy, and everybody else for being here, and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Jane.
See you later.
Okay, before I go to Jack, Ashley had a question on chat. Mindy, wow, thank you. What were you shown and explored is very helpful for me today. Sorry, my question is through chat, but what have you learned about thoughts that are happy versus thoughts that weaken the soul?
Wow. Negativity, everything has energy, including our thoughts. And it's not that it weakens it, but it drains it. And for us to have any kind of power, I don't want to say power, for us to be completing our assignment on earth, because I believe that's what it is, part of it is to fill our soul with positivity. And positivity is not always so clear cut, but there's more, it's more dimensional, there's more understanding. Not everything you think is bad, and I don't know, just happy thoughts is not enough because there's emotion behind it. So it's a little more complex than I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. That doesn't work. There's more learning involved than that. So it's more of a desire to learn and grow that helps us, I think. And just to be humble and take our lessons and do better. You know what I mean? It's a little more than that.
Oh, thank you, Mindy. Jack, you're next. Jack, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I just a bit of for your information. The 14 or 16 characteristics of an NDE have been described by Professor Kenneth Ring and his many books, and also Bruce Grayson and the International Association for Near-Death Studies. So, and our group is a chapter of IANDS, and our mission is to provide a safe and forum for experiencers.
I will add to that Dr. Atwater, Phyllis Atwater, is doing a research on that because of all the people that have shared their experiences with ETs.
They wrote me up in iron. Or what's the other one? NDERF? That's another one. Website, yeah. I know what he's talking about, yes.
Thank you. Anyone else? So it's a message for Laurie from Glenn. Would you read it, please, Laurie? Okay, anyone else?
I just want to apologize. The fire alarms were going off when Mindy was trying to answer my question, so I missed it completely.
Oh, my goodness.
But Glenn, yes, I am interested. I will reach out to you. I do appreciate that. I'm trying to understand and open up a little bit more to the messages that I do receive, and also to grow from the experience. And Glenn, I know you've done a lot, and I'd appreciate your input and your help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Laurie. Bethany, you have your hand up?
I do. I just wonder, Mindy, you had children when you had your near-death experience, right? And I wonder how they responded to the changes that they may have observed in you.
They responded very well. I love the people who knew me before because I'm a different person. And my daughter, she was 16 at the time, said to me, or she was 15, Ma, I don't worry about you so much anymore. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, now I know you can handle life. And I didn't know she was worried or thought that way. They didn't tell me, but the difference was so profound in me. that they saw it and they benefited from it. They could not deny it because I was changed. And I saw them change and become better and understand these philosophies or these teachings. And they have certainly benefited from it. They have much more understanding of the afterlife and spirituality and what we're here for. And, you know, my son said the other day, Ma, now there's a video. Now the UFOs are landing in Fort Lauderdale. And I said, Aunt, they were always landing in Fort Lauderdale and everywhere else. They're everywhere. And as I walked out of the room, I said, and so are ghosts. So this is just our normal, you know, because I watch the Travel Channel, which is now 24/7 psychic phenomena. There's no travel anymore. It's just psychic phenomena. It's my best channel. And they come in my room and they go, Ma, you know that's a portal, right? I go, I love that you know that, you know. So I said, why can't it be an everyday thing? I'm here, the spirits are here, we're all here, so what? But of course, because of my experience, I see things differently. And, you know, even death, of course, it's upsetting. And I don't want to lose anyone. I don't want anyone to lose anyone. But to me, in a big way, it's the great reward. So I don't see it the same because to me, it's pure love and it's home and it's a graduation. Like I didn't have a great life and still not easy. I'm taking it. I'm not complaining, you know, that much, but I see things very differently now. So my kids have certainly benefited and they certainly understand a lot and believe me a little because I'm the mother, you know, and more than they would have if they didn't see that change.
It's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you both. I have a question. Now, since you wrote your book, Mindy, what kind of feedback have you been getting about it?
Great, but I wouldn't care. It's not about me, but great. You know, they told me to go back and tell others. And I had no peace until I wrote it. They did not leave me alone. I felt it in my soul to write the book. And I had an uncomfortableness and I knew it was that. And I get great feedback, but I don't feel it has anything to do with me. I'm just relaying the message because they make me do it just like I am now. I see myself, you know, regular person, struggling, a hairdresser, whatever. And I was told directly to go back and tell others. And I don't take that lightly. So that's why I do it. I don't like this. I don't like being on camera. I have maybe 4 or 5 videos on YouTube, all within the year because I gave in 10 years later. But I try to avoid it, you know. It's just to get the message out and people seem to like it. I only hope that they understand it and get something out of it. But it's not even my message, you know. It's as much as my kids belong to me as much as that message. It just came through me.
That's right.
And I only give what I know, what they taught me or what I experienced. That's it. I don't want to reach or I don't really have any other knowledge, just that, you know.
Thank you, Mindy. Any other questions? Anyone else have questions, comments? Greg?
I was actually I'm downstairs now. I was wondering if I can ask something to the group, if that's possible.
Go ahead.
If Mindy has nothing no more. So I did have a passing of a friend recently this weekend, a fellow sound engineer like myself. I was laying down kind of half between sleep and awake where I heard this like chime and it like felt like someone like went above me, went ding, and I just heard it ring. And I wonder if those are connected or if anyone has any insight on that.
I think they're connected,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
You know, when you lose somebody close to you, or even someone you know, that alone can open or thin the veil. And
What can you said? Love can thin the veil.
no, losing someone close to you,
Oh, okay.
it does somehow. And it opens you up to hearing things and seeing things sometimes without any experience of your own. Just losing someone can do that. And if that person wanted to get your attention, chimes or a bell have meaning. Look it up. There's a message in that.
Food for thought, Greg. Okay. Yeah. Are you done or go ahead?
Well, I do. I just want to comment too. Like I notice my thoughts do bring you either sometimes a feeling of like a warm, loving feeling versus like I know when I'm thinking negative, I feel angry or and I know when I'm talking to source or whatever, even acknowledge source, sometimes I just feel more like a loving energy over me, and I'm more positive about how things are. So the thing you're saying about energy and just feeling emotion with it is definitely true.
Mm-hmm. The more you stay in that, the more that will grow. Same is true for the opposite.
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of my life in the opposite too. So.
Well, we all have.
Time for balance.
Most people. Yeah. Try to hold on to that. That has value.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Greg. Glenn?
Hi, yeah, Mindy. Another thing I was fascinated with that you said was something that I can relate to, I think, and that's really the heart of my question, I guess, is that you were in something you called the ether or the ether, perhaps the in-between place, as you described it. And it was darkness, but it had substance, right? I'm trying to understand what you said.
It was navy blue sky.
Navy.
Dark, but it had millions of stars. It wasn't blackout, in that way. It was outer space. And I would have never thought heaven was outer space. I thought heaven was like, fluffy clouds and cherubs. And I would have never thought that. And it's not all that. There's many dimensions and different places. But I think it's just the location that they took me to teach me.
Okay.
And it was outer space. And I just want to say everything is alive. The planets, the stars, the air, everything.
Well, so there was air there. This isn't kind of like a living void. This is more of just a regular place. I'm just trying to grasp on that.
It is a place.
It's a definite place.
But I also cross dimensions as I rose.
Okay.
So it's not only a place. It was in another dimension.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Krista? Go ahead.
Mindy, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's fascinating. I was wondering, when you were in that place where there were all the stars, that sounds familiar to me, because after my second NDE, I was in heaven, and when I looked down at my body and made the decision to come back, I began floating through this time of nothingness.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like you're just floating in this dark space, but there were stars. So did you feel like you were in a time of nothingness where, it's like just nothingness. There's so much.
I was never alone. I always had the two guides. And there was a point when not that I saw, but saw God hovering. I didn't see him. Everything was energy. And I was floating. Yes, I had the sensation of floating. But where they brought me, like floating with a purpose, landing kind of near the moon, sort of with a purpose, not randomly. Everything was controlled when I was there. So not just floating and never alone, and just kind of being lifted to a spot on purpose, taught on purpose, sent back on purpose, all like that.
But did you feel peace when you were in that
Oh yeah.
place?
Oh, the best.
Mm,
The
yeah.
best. Total peace. Not only that, being out of the body was great. No body issues.
It's amazing.
It
Isn't
was freedom, and it was much more natural than being in the body. I really loved it. Best thing that ever happened to me. And I don't want to ever be miserable again, but the best thing God ever did for me, because he still don't listen to me. He still doesn't give me any prayers, any of my wishes. But that kind of makes up for it. No, for me, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it's an incredible place to be, that's for sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Now, is it Matthew or Sharon?
Actually, we share a lot. It's actually Sharon.
Go ahead,
So
please.
I have a question for you. Speaking of realms, because I feel like I dream in realms, and today's the anniversary of one of my brother's death.
Oh.
And I've been feeling a long time that my ancestors are here, and not just mine, but a whole bunch are here. Haven't communicated with them, but I just know they're here. And I have a question for you. In the realm, when you're in the realm, because I've been in the realm with my brothers, and it just seems like it is in color, but one thing that you made me realize is the background is dark. Now, it's not like being in a room and it's dark and people are walking in and you see shadows. Not like that.
No.
Because they're completely alive and we're just going about just day-to-day activities. And I've seen my mom, my dad, my in-laws like this, and it's nothing special. I don't feel like I've risen. I just feel like it has happened. Did you ever get that experience?
You mean like you kind of lifted the veil and you just seeing what they're doing on the other side?
I'm in the midst of them.
Yes, like you're among them and they're just doing whatever they're doing on the other side, and you happen to see it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but the other side appears to be what I know them to be in this life. Just normal interactions. Like you walk into someone's house or you're on this camera, you could see everything that we're doing.
Yes.
It's in almost like it's in real time. Do you get that? And it's in color. The only thing is the background is there. Okay.
Well, maybe the background is etheric, I didn't see that there, but there is a lot going on there. They're not just floating in outer space and nothing to do on the other side. And maybe there is another dimension that they're living lives, close to our dimension. Like I said, there is so much more going on than we understand. Somebody had mentioned to me about not time shifting, like if you're on a road, you can shift into another road in another dimension. Like right now, we don't like what we're doing in this life, and we can switch and go on another road, switch dimensions. There is a lot of dimensions. And are we multidimensional? Maybe there's another Mindy in another dimension. Also, the veil is very thin, thinner than we realize. So maybe you're popping in and out of a dimension where they are having a mundane life. I don't know. I don't put anything, I can't say because I haven't experienced it, but I can kind of understand there's so many layers of it, and it's a lot thinner than we realize. And once you step in, you may be able to keep stepping in and sometimes the veil thins out, like, was it Greg who said his friend passed and he heard the bell, you know? That's a thinning of a veil for different reasons, caused by energy and situations, and, you know, so you may have tapped in, and maybe there's a part of them, a layer of them. I think maybe, you know, our soul is just energy. And I'm not sure if the energy goes in layers in different places and different dimensions. You can read and learn forever. There's so many theories, and maybe they're all true. I don't know. Maybe none. I don't know. But I kind of feel like you might have tapped in, and it may just be that there is another. Well, if we're mundane, why can't there be other mundane dimensions, you know, for our soul's growth? You may be able to tap into it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. This was a wonderful meeting, Mindy. So grateful for you. I guess we'll come up to 8:30. So just to let you know that when Bethany is ready, she will post the video on our website, and also I think YouTube, right, Bethany? Yeah. And so anybody that wishes to stay further, they can to just chit chat amongst themselves. But Bethany, you're going to close the
recording. Yeah, I'll stop the recording now.
Very good. Thank you
Okay.
very much for all you do, Bethany, as always.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mindy, for being here, and thank you for so many great questions. And I just love what our members bring to these meetings. It's so awesome.
Thank you.